So we have innate reasoning capabilities that God has given us in mathematics.
Music is a thing God does.
Hundreds of economists, they say if you want to stay free, if you want to have a good economy, if you want to thrive, you need to divide the land equally.
Music is a thing God does. Flowers, yes. Music, generally we think of as a human thing. Every composer whose music I've ever played is a human. The conductors, yes, the conductors even are human. We use that term sometimes to say that music is something that the other animals don't do, at least in the same sense. Particularly today, in the matter of where we are and how it is that there is air around us that has this elastic quality that can take my voice from where I am to where you are. There are not very many resources that talk about this matter of theology and music, trying to find a connection or a bridge or interactions between them.
That's just the way we see things. You can't see different things in the same space at the same time as different. In the world we hear, that's not the case. When I hear a note on a piano or a guitar, that note fills the whole of my own space. The whole of my oral space. It's not in a place. It fills everything that I hear. If I add another note to that note and play two notes at the same time, both notes fill the same space. They fill the same oral space, and yet I hear they are two notes. Notes can be inside each other and yet be distinct. They can interpenetrate, and they can also resonate with each other and enhance each other. And I see that as incredibly fruitful taken into the world of theology. The most obvious example of that is the Trinity, of course, where you have three distinct oneness, and you've got to try to say that is in the same space, the space of God, but it's very hard to say that, as the mystery of theology shows. If you try to visualize it, it's very hard not to end up with three gods, or one big God and that with threes. Or perhaps some other version of heresy. Sound, a three-note chord for example, there you have three inhabiting the same brain space, yet you hear them as different, and they resonate and enhance each other.
Music is a thing God does.
Scientists tuned into the brain to uncover music's healing power, according to the Associated Press, December 19, 2017. November 5th of 2015, Beverly Mers, executive editor of Harvard Women's Health Watch, says that one can heal through music. According to South Florida's Sun Sentinel, music makes our trip enjoyable and relaxing. Music also can be used as a healing vehicle that refreshes the spirit, soul, and body. Pleasant words and music are like a honeycomb, sweet to the mind and healing to the bones. According to Bible verse 1 Samuel 16:23, "And it came to pass, when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took a harp and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him."
All sin goes back to someone's greed. It could be politicians' greed, corporations, government, some individuals. So all sin has economic connections. Trusting God and things like that, and those who do, it can be up to 100% difference in grades. They say, so like if someone has like a 40% average, it could be up to 80%. So Pretty powerful. If you're married, like if you're single, you have to buy two, like if there's two singles, you have to buy like 2 houses, 2 cars, 2 stoves, 2 refrigerators like that. If you're married, you can share. And you don't need as much sometimes. So there's an economic aspect there too. Another one is that some research says that Christians just in America contribute $1.2 trillion to the economy. Pretty powerful. Where did God put Adam and Eve? In a garden, right? Then they had peace and safety and security throughout the land. The Bible says cancel debts. The Pharisees had made a document saying, if we lend you money, you will not cancel your debt. And Jesus says we must forgive our debts, which is not just sins, it's also the economic thing as well. This is a major Christian economist, Michael Hudson. When there is greed, and if you trace it back far enough, every evil you can think of goes back to greed. Ellen White says, the provisions of the sabbatical year and the Jubilee would, in a great measure, set right that which had gone wrong in the social and political economy of the nation. So there's all kinds of ways, all kinds of economic principles in the Bible that can help us to beat poverty and beat greed and all those kind of things if we understand and follow them. Just a few of them. Jesus, of course, says we got to treat the least of these the same way we should treat Jesus because He created them. So that's a very important foundation. In the world, we spend actually it's higher than that now. It's probably like $2 trillion now. Okay, at least $2 trillion on military. Just 10% less, we could stop poverty. The problem is, war is the most profitable thing to make money quickly. Follow God's principles, then you will be stable and thriving in your nation. So that's a very powerful principle. This is one from Ezekiel 47. It says, this is after the exile, they came back, and one of the first things God told them, He said, distribute the land as an allotment for yourselves and for the foreigners who have joined you and are raising their families among you. This is extremely radical, far more than any other economist these days, to share land with everybody, even foreigners. That is just really, really radical, and the Bible is a radical book. We realize that poverty is killing people every minute, every second. People are dying because of poverty, and it's pretty shocking and pretty terrible there, of course. Poverty is also a cause of terrorism. Many people say it's religion. No, it's not. That's a minor factor, if anything, because almost like one researcher, he said he interviewed the terrorists. Most of them didn't know anything about the Bible or Quran. They were just really desperate people, and they listened to some guru who said, hey, your enemies over there, we gotta kill them. And so the poverty was the main factor. You don't see terrorists from countries that are well off. It's mostly from those that are poor. This is another guy here. I have a video of him. If you can watch the video, it's very powerful. It's on TED Talks. Kola Mancha, how firms could employ African young workforce and build peace. He says that when 20 million people entered the job market in Nigeria and many couldn't get jobs, that led to 3 terrorist movements. And so he developed a method to teach gardening and farming and things like that in ways that were helping them earn more money than in the city jobs, 4 to 5 times more than a city job would pay. And in this way, he probably stopped at least 1 or maybe 2 revolutions because of this efforts like that. So very powerful. These days, the Bible says there's going to be greed issues, and sometimes people say, "Oh, young people, you're just not working very hard. You're lazy." But no, economics have changed a lot because this guy is saying, "Hey, I paid off all my college and bought a house like that." Well, at your age, college was 3% of median salary. Now, college costs are about 5 to 6, 7 times higher. Gardening. We talked about that already. Gardening solves about 25 world problems, and people can make quite a lot of money with it if you study, especially growing microgreens is very good. Truth is life. Truth sets you free. If you learn truth and follow it, you'll have better salaries usually. You'll help people have more freedom in different ways. When people pay tithe, they usually have about 3 times benefit back, because when you're helping people say, that person's a leader, and they often choose you as a leader. So that's very good too. Every dollar you give to churches, it produces almost $5 in benefits to the whole community. Use and borrow things from each other, join the sharing economy. If you just spend $10 a month on other moral businesses in your community, you can transfer $9.3 billion to local communities nationwide if each person just bought $10 more locally. And the Bible says, do good first to who? To the household of faith. Now, most countries are like this. We have, like right now in America, about, I think it's the top 10% own like 75% of the land that's publicly available like that. And so if you look at their wealth, this is actually, I think, it's worse than that. But 1% of Americans own that whole section because of bribing government and things like that. This is massive inequality. We have the worst inequality right now in our history. Just a month ago, I read a study that said the top 1% have stolen $50 trillion from the lower classes usually by controlling and manipulating government laws. Many Native Americans and indigenous people, they had this idea that the land was something sacred that belonged to everyone. The Bible says that earth is Lord's and everything in it. If it's God who made it, then He has the right to say who can share it and how it should be shared. Whenever you see land more equally distributed, then you see these countries thriving. In Proverbs 14:34, it says, righteousness makes nations great. The word for righteousness there is a Hebrew word, tzedakah. And have you heard of tzedakah before, anybody? That word is also translated as justice.
There are actually 100 Bible verses about justice and equality of all people. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is no male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. So God created man in His own image. In the image of God, He created him, male and female, He created them. For God shows no partiality. He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God.
Just introducing a few famous numbers that you've probably heard about. Up here at the top is number 10. 10 is famous because we use a decimal number system for all of our economics and everything. 23.5 means, 2 times 10 plus 3 times 1 plus 1 times 1/10. 5 times 1/10. It's all decimal numbers, and 10 comes from our 10 counting figures, and that's how it all started. People counted on their fingers. 1 stands for unity and wholeness. That's how we get fractions of 1, 1/2 of 1. God is the creator of the visible and the invisible. Mathematics is somewhat visible and invisible both. He's the designer, applies all of our needs. He's not distant and detached. He's involved. He's a governor, known as the Lord. And also, later on, after the creation, he had the role as a Savior. He's self-existent. He has no beginning, and he's unlimited. Mathematics is a language of order. It's the language of reason and truth. The language of science.
Why does mathematics work? Think about it. Mathematical entities like numbers, sets, and equations are non-physical and abstract. They can't cause anything. Yet, for some reason, the physical universe operates mathematically. As Galileo put it, the book of nature is written in the language of mathematics. Scientists do not use mathematics merely as a convenient way of organizing the data. They believe that mathematical relationships reflect real aspects of the physical world. Science relies on the assumption that we live in an ordered universe that is subject to precise mathematical laws. Thus, the laws of physics are all expressed as mathematical equations. For example, Pythagoras discovered that when a vibrating string is shortened by half, it plays the same note 1 octave higher. Isaac Newton's observations led to his discovery of the law of gravity, a mathematical relationship expressed as a simple equation that enabled us to enter the space age. Mathematics enabled astronomers to pinpoint the location of a previously undiscovered planet. And James Clerk Maxwell used mathematics to predict the existence of radio waves. Albert Einstein, working with theoretical mathematics developed 50 years earlier, formulated his general theory of relativity, a pillar of modern physics. His calculations were later confirmed during a solar eclipse, when Arthur Eddington observed light from distant stars bending around the sun. Then, Peter Higgs used mathematical equations to predict the existence of an elementary particle. It took 48 years, billions of dollars, and millions of man-hours for experimental scientists to finally detect the Higgs boson. How do we explain the astonishing applicability of math to the physical world? In 1960, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist and mathematician Eugene Wigner published an article that stunned the scientific community entitled "The Unreasonable Effectiveness of Mathematics in the Natural Sciences." Wigner concluded that the effectiveness of mathematics is a miracle, which we neither understand nor deserve. Why is mathematics so effective? Philosophers who address this question fall into two camps. Naturalists, who believe that all that exists concretely is space-time and its physical contents. They exclude supernatural causes. And theists, who believe in a God who created the universe. Naturalists cannot provide a reasonable explanation for why mathematics applies to the physical world. It's just a happy coincidence. But this is no explanation at all. At most, naturalists can say that it's not surprising that math applies to the world, because the world itself just happens to have a mathematical structure, so of course mathematics applies to it. But this explanation is unsatisfactory for two reasons. First, a great deal of mathematics and science cannot be physically realized. For example, imaginary numbers and infinite dimensional spaces. Although these concepts are useful, physical reality cannot possibly have the structure they describe. And second, this answer still doesn't explain why the physical universe has such a stunningly elegant mathematical structure. By contrast, for theists, mathematics works so well in the physical world because God has chosen to create the world according to the plan He had in mind. The first-century Jewish philosopher Philo of Alexandria offered this analogy. When a king wants to build a city, a trained architect first designs in his mind a plan of all the parts of the city that are to be completed. Then he begins to construct the city out of stones and timber, looking at the model and ensuring that the material objects are built according to the plan. Mathematics and physics work so well together because the same mind that designed the universe on a mathematical model also built the universe on the same mathematical model. All of this adds up to an argument for the existence of God that goes like this. If God does not exist, the applicability of mathematics is just a happy coincidence. But the applicability of mathematics is not just a happy coincidence. Therefore, God exists. Eugene Wigner was right. The effectiveness of mathematics in the physical world is quite literally a miracle, which is best explained by the existence of God.
Amazing creation, wondrous creation, the infinite, the infinitesimal, the beauty. It's amazing. It really is.
Both secular science and the scriptures state that man was formed from the dust. The Big Bang Theory more or less holds that planet Earth and all its life forms developed from stardust, while the biblical account states that man was formed by God from the dust of the earth, which he also created, and woman from the rib of Adam. And in yet another similarity, both worldviews state that man returns to dust.
In John chapter 8, verse 58, Jesus is talking to people who don't accept him, don't believe in him, but he says, "Very truly I tell you," Jesus answered, "before Abraham was, I am." And we know that I am is how God introduces himself to his people. He is the eternally existing one.
Humans are connected to the earth. Both were created by God. Man is composed of the dust of the earth.
The Maniwechwani goes way back to the first creation. The first medicine was Maniwechwani, the water of life. It's very important to our life today.
Both the human body and the earth consist of 71% of water. Chief Arvel Lookinghorse of the Lakota Sioux Nation brought up a really interesting point when he said that water is medicinal. Well, according to science, water has a lot of good medicinal qualities. Not only does it cleanse the kidneys when we drink it, but water is also used in the areas of hydrotherapy in regards to soothing pain-inflicted muscles.
And I just want to share you this one verse that really inspires my heart when it comes to creation. I just want to read it in Psalm 19 verse 1, and it says here, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands."
The Earth's crust contains most of the mineral nutrients our body requires.
All the rivers, the creeks, everything's all connected like that. My grandmother and the elders talk about home birth. We are born into it. We come from the Star Nation, and we were born here. We're born into the water of life.
Another statement that he brought up was that he believes that he and his people are from the stars. Well, here's where truth meets error. So it's not that mankind is from the stars, it's just that man was created by the one who created the stars. God created the worlds, he created the stars, he hung this world on nothing. As a matter of fact, we can also find that 95% of the human DNA consists of the same substance that is found in plant life. We actually share, according to science, we share 95% of our DNA with that of plants. Oxygen is the most abundant element in both the human body and the Earth's crust.
So now, Father, glorify me in your presence with the glory I had with you before the world existed.
I would say I believe in a full creation account. God said, "Let there be light," and it just was. Big Bang is something that's creating the entire universe.
God has always existed, but God created everything. Not just he put matter into the universe. No, he created the universe. He created the space and time of the universe. He created the laws of nature, the laws of science, the laws of physics, how things work. And for him, it is all present. It is all now. Before Abraham was, I was? No. Before Abraham was, Jesus says, I am.
The human body is made up of almost entirely 13 elements. Oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen make up 96% of our body's mass. People also ask, what elements do humans have in common with the Earth? The 6 most common elements of life on Earth, including more than 97% of the mass of a human body, are carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and phosphorus. The other 4% of body weight is composed almost entirely of sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, iron, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, and iodine. Silicon is an element in the human body. Less than 1% is not as prevalent as it is in the Earth's crust. However, we require this small amount of silicon for bone development, and it is found in skin and connective tissue.
My grandmother and the elders talked about home birth. We are born into, we come from the Star Nation, and we were born here.
This goes back to the story of Babel, how everyone at that time spoke the same language, and God saw that they were misusing that ability. God saw they were only using that ability for selfish pursuit, and God caused division because of that selfish pursuit. And that same attitude of selfish pursuit originated in heaven with Lucifer, with Satan. That's why Satan was cast out of heaven. He did not agree with the way God was running heaven. He thought he could do things better. He wanted to be like God. He wanted to be above God. Well, God couldn't have that, and eventually there was a political war in heaven, and Satan lost. And that's why Satan and his angels were cast out. Now, I want to go back to the story of Babel in this part where God caused division among those people because they abused that power. God caused the diversity of culture when he caused the diversity of language. Now, just the way Satan was able to use his ability of deception in the Garden of Eden through the serpent to deceive Eve into taking a bite out of a lie, Satan has for thousands of years been able to create this same type of deception throughout the different cultures by coming up with different stories that, oh, we were created by alien beings, or there was an ancient form of an alien race who came down here and took a primitive ape and spliced that ape's DNA with their DNA and created human beings. And there's all these different types of stories, or there are all these different types of stories within the Native American cultures that they are from the stars, not realizing that Satan has had so much time, generation after generation after generation, of implanting this false deception of that either we came from the stars or that we were created by alien beings. And the reason why Satan is causing all of this deception is because Satan knows he is a defeated foe. His time is numbered and he's going down swinging. And so for thousands of years he's come up with all these different stories. He's been able to deceive all of these different cultures. And when I see Chief Arvel Looking Horse innocently believing that he and his people for generations have come from the stars, I just think to myself, if they were only aware of the truth, and if they were only aware to just, or if they only had that desire to look into the Bible and to read it for themselves and to come across the truth, they would have their eyes open. So that's my prayer for the different types of the Native American cultures, is that they would realize the importance of just how real this deception is.
I don't know for you, but for me, every time I look into the stars and the skies, it always makes me think and say that how much I'm grateful I am to know Him in my life.
Genesis 2, verses 6 through 7, and it says, "And a mist was going up from the land and was watering the whole face of the ground." Verse 7, "Then the Lord God formed the man of dust from the ground."
If people cannot see the vast amounts of evidence that actually prove the validity of creation and that how we are tied to creation with such evidences of the human body sharing 95% of its genetic makeup in common with plant life, for people not seeing that common ground, I think a lot of people probably don't want to see the evidence, because that would mean people would have to change their view on creation, and people would have to change their view on the idea of evolution.
Mankind is God's workmanship. We are like clay in the hands of the master potter, who is molding us according to his purpose.
One of the core foundations of our Adventist faith is creation, believing that everything was made in 6 literal days. It's such a concept that seems foreign now because a lot of denominations seem to follow more of a theistic evolution.
I see things in nature way different now. I see it as it was created. My favorite examples, there are many examples, but my favorite ones are the maple tree and the twirlies. Those little seeds that when they fall out, they twirl down, and they have in that little seed the ability to grow an entire new maple tree. It's just amazing to me how a tree can come out of that little thing, and that tree will produce more of these twirlies, so it's like a cycle.
And many other Native American cultures have the idea that things possess an individual spirit, such as a tree possesses an individual spirit, or a plant possesses an individual spirit, or a rock possesses an individual spirit, or different types of animals possess different types of spirits. It's not that things individually possess an individual spirit, it's just that everything around us, including ourselves, were created by the one true spirit, the one true God, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end, the God of the universe, and his son Jesus. They were both present at creation. So it's fair to say that we don't possess individual spirits. The spirit that we possess was given to us by God's breath. God breathed into Adam the breath of life, and Adam became a living soul. And we are descendants of Adam. We all have that same breath that God breathed into Adam. So for the Native American cultures believing that everything possesses a spirit, that's where the error is. And where the truth comes in is that everything was created by the one true spirit, the great spirit, the maker of all life. Every Native American culture refers to the Creator as the Great Spirit and Maker of all life, in which that is who God is. God is the Great Spirit. He is the Maker of all life, but He doesn't grant things such as a tree or a rock or a plant or an animal an individual spirit. All things were created by God. All things have the breath of God. So we were created by the one true Spirit, the one true God, and His Son Jesus. We were both present at creation, and this is the truth that the Bible teaches. But, as I mentioned earlier, the story of Babel, how everyone one time spoke one language, God caused division among those people because they misused that ability. They were only using it for selfish pursuit, and that selfish attitude originated in heaven with Lucifer.
A.E. Wilder Smith wrote, "The necessary information to build man does not reside in the few elements it takes to compose him. God breathed into man the breath of life. God exalted his breath into the body that he had formed, giving man not only an earthly origin, but a divine one. And man's physical nature cannot merely be explained by the components that he or she can be reduced to in a science lab."